Cruel Vesuvius, for Eileen. My uncle ordered a boat to be made ready, telling me I could go with him if I wished. I replied that I preferred to go on with my studies. As it happened, he had given me some writing to do. Pliny the Younger, Letters for the Historian Tacitus, 79 A.D. The Gates of Pompeii. We first met at Pompeii's gates, long after the ash had fallen. A good friend arranged it, then never showed, so in we went. The entrance was all glass, as if the museum itself were encased in it, an artifact of its own cause. Propping one another up with small talk, we entered the exhibit from the wrong end, beginning at the bodies cast in plaster. The room was red, and hidden speakers played a manufactured din, complete with varied screams of terror and the many sounds of fire. Struck silent, we drifted into the next room, where a dog lay in a sleep tableau under a blanket of stone. The next room held what was left of several statues, all visages of wealthy villa dwellers, painstaking selfies rendered in marble. The next room held a villa wall, whose fresco was just faded enough to qualify as a dream, a melancholy chronicle hovering out of time, as if each ghostly brushstroke were lamenting the loss of a vital dimension, dreading the painted faces the dark ages would flatten. In the next room, a display of petrified food presented us with an eternal banquet. Bread, dates, and olives, all immaculate, all immortal, all uneaten and unplanted, rested on a fleet of painted plates. Semi-transparent glassware, thick and rough, glowed with cold light from the tiny bulbs installed in a display wall. The crowd separated us for a while, but we found each other again. The abrupt interval, like one of the thin veils of space that cross a plaster mural, gently shaken by the motions of the earth. When you reappeared, you seemed relieved to me. In the gift shop, miniature replicas of several artifacts had been arranged, like ritual objects, on long, low tables. We left the way we came in, and the winding streets divided us. The throes of decadence. Anything goes. Children play with each other on the cobbles. Along the market streets, exotic fruits and meats hang on their way from ripe to spoiled. Butchers and merchants shoo the flies away. Slaves are bought and sold and made, most without knowing it. Pets and beasts romp freely, fed by scraps and catches. Some enjoy a privileged existence indoors, while others live strapped to their burdens. The baths are full of gossip, calling itself dialogue. Tile murals advertise the intimate services of larger villas' employees. The grains of the fields go as much into bread as into vats for brewing, each live seed enriched by supervised decomposition. Sunlight stains the stones that litter the sleeping volcano, like petrified loaves of bread, double baked, as if once by worn hands and twice by time's heat. Tiles crack and fall, but they are not replaced. The best masons delay their works. The rich become blasé, shirking their annual sacrifices to the gods. Souls drop like rain, burst on the streets, run through culverts. Blood replaces coin. The future is an afterthought, and the present is a cup for revelry. Inscription on a hallway wall. O utinam liceat colo complexa tenere, brachiola et teneris oscula fere labellis inunc ventis tua gaudia. Pupula crede mihi levis est natura virorum, saepe ego cum media vigilarem perdita. Nocte haec mecum meditans, multos fortuna, quos substultit alte. Hos modo proiectos subito, prae si pictespie premit, sic Venus ut subito coiunxit corpora amantum, dividit lux etse. Invide dicebant paeres quid amantibus obstans. Jealous fortune. Fate willing, I would hold you, with your delicate arms crossed behind my neck, and press kisses to your exquisite lips. But go, my love, let the wind carry your joys. Men are fools. Lost in the night, I often lie awake, bemused by fortune's quirks. She lifts some up high, only to hurl them away. Abandoned, they fall. She then returns, only to pin them to the earth. Like Venus, who unites unsuspecting lovers, joining their bodies by night, only to allow daylight to divide them. Jealous fortune, why do you keep us separate? The snake of Jupiter. The demiurge, that lion-faced snake, snared me a while in beautiful chains. Perhaps Gnosis remains a lifetime or two away. In Pompeii, they called Vesuvius Jupiter's snake, and worshipped the volatile thrall. Rather than crawl and slide on my belly, I'll dress honesty in this thin guise, and risk being thought a liar by my audience at truth's expense. When love comes to a man, often his instinct is to sacrifice that love on some altar, whether of stone or paper. As it is for many, to him, true love masquerades as weakness. But letting truth appear is like bloodletting. The process heals as much as it draws from the veins. This poem hates to seem so somber. No, it wants to be a beacon, but it knows that often brilliant light is not what's right. There are things far deeper than daylight's boons that some forms of night provide. Chains of glyphs might encrypt a legion of complex messages. These hold a single one. If I was a musician, I would play you a lyre melody. If I was a cosmonaut, I would write out our names in the dust of the sun-reddened moon. If I was a carpenter, I would build us a home in the resting mountains of the West, free from the thralls of evil gods. If I could rewrite fate, reorder time, reverse disease, and revive the dead, then I would merely be a heartless god and could no longer love you. Fortes fortuna juvat. The ships he built unbuilt him, their sails inflated with hubris. Fortune favors the courageous. Leaving his nephew behind, Pliny the Elder leads himself to doom. Fortune punishes the careless. A noble cause, the rescue of his friend, but ignobly foolish to linger. Fortune damns the reckless. While the fire fell, Pliny retired, sleeping even as the end began. Fortune mocks the inattentive. Near death he was carried to his ship, the firmament above ablaze. Fortune immolates the brazen. As the surviving ships cast off to flee, the sky was full of blood. Fortune spares the expedient. At Pliny's villa, the younger man sat writing, despite troubling clouds. Fortune blesses the focused. Lightning in the gray-black plume flashes, and he looks up a moment. Fortune guides the earnest. He thinks of his late wife, her name almost escaping his racing mind. Fortune rewards the resilient. It had stormed at their wedding, and they found shelter under an olive tree. Fortune envies the amorous. The guard. Stern at his post in the doorway, he stands his guard, even as the panic grows. No one comes to relieve him. Desperate strides give way to flights, and the passers-by transform into a flock. Even as the rumbling of Jupiter's thrall rattles the chandelier behind them in the entrance hall, and his masters scramble to save their treasures. Even as the plaster cracks and the air thickens, he stands his guard. The streets clog with bodies, all souls half fled, clawing at robes all stained, and with makeshift weapons drawn. Short shouts, more raw with panic than rage, abound. Even as the snow of ash begins, he stands his guard. The sky darkens, and all the city bathes in red and black and gray. The streets grow empty, save for those too old or poor or mad to flee, arrested by the spectacle of death, unable to see their one single dwindling window of escape. Even as the stones rain down, clattering on the roof tiles, he stands his guard. The cries of madness fade. The air wavers with a benthic miasma, intoxicating those remaining, nudging them into an endless sleep. The guard's eyes flicker and his shoulders slump. Even as he leans on his iron spear, he stands his guard. The eons settle over him. At the dig site, archaeologists find the top of a skull, smooth as a seashell. Even as the guard's bones travel from museum to museum, looked upon by those that never saw such fires, who never would have stood as he did, directly facing his people's end. Despite the many temptations of fear, he stands his guard. The peak burst, leaving a crater like the hole in the skull of the guard caused by a clumsy trainee at a museum dropping one of the guard's femurs on the skull. Even while the mountain sleeps, the area around it teems with modern life. The snake still writhes beneath its master's monument, reminding the populace to curb their hubris. Now the guard's bones rest in a wooden case lined with foam, a gentle grave. Now he can leave his post. Now he can rise. His part can return to the whole. Like one committed to an oath not taken, I stood guarded. Like one bound to a non-existent pact, I bled needlessly. Like an etherized patient, I lay numb and immobile. Like dry bones, I had lost the spark that imparts life. Like one buried before dying, my soul writhed in living chains. As one freed from a self-built prison, I seek only true love. The Royal Mountain. No ships break against these gray walls of stone. No fallen clouds assail these slopes with ripples of sulfur. No ashes stain the air. No bleak and pickled sea froths in the low rhythms of its dark waves. No sails punctuate the sky, and no magma crawls here. So I climb, with the others, all on small pilgrimages of their own. I am looking for signs. I am conflicted. For the first time I see a wild raccoon nestled in the cradle of two branches, a symbol of the ego and its need for re-evaluation. What glories we spend on mountains, these assemblages of earth and stone. How we bow to them, as if they are the seats of gods, as if rich men who accumulate great hills of wealth might be called gods for their mounds of weighted chains. I must admit to taking an illicit piss in the deep snow behind a shed, indulging my animal side with an act of temporary marking, as we all do when we make brief marks on paper. Let us frolic. I am over with undue restraint, with all forms of self-flagellation. I found myself within my work through you. Thoth's Truths. When we were last near, my first tarot reading showed me the tower I would fall from. and the version of myself that needed to die for a better one to be born, the part of the long poem of my life that cried for edits. When I returned from London, that odd facsimile, that run-down party town where my uncle, a genius physicist, first lost his mind, I held a driftwood wand over my copy of Thoth's deck. My second reading showed me the lover and the fool, and a myriad of other signs in answer to my desperate question. Months later, my third reading showed me the path I wished to take. Yes, death appeared, but only as a symbol of transformation. You were the Princess of Cups, the earthy part of water. I, being a Pisces, know my affinities. You seem to know your own, and I accept them. I don't wish to complicate your life, though you seem comfortable with complexity. I rest now, in the familiar, like a captain, still uncertain if he should command himself to sail an uncharted sea, all while his eager crew turn their eyes to the stars.